Well, hello, friends, and welcome to my daily diary where I share with you exactly what I did from morning to night each day. Today's segment is going to cover Thursday, May 11th through Saturday, May 20th. So Thursday, May 11th, I began the day here at the office, and then later on in the day began a trip. The morning regular meetings with administration and staff took place. We have our full staff briefing at 8:30. And then right away I began meeting with various members of the team regarding the work of the day. At 10 I had a meeting with our social media and videography team, our studio team, and then with our social media director alone. I met with our data team. Data is the lifeblood of any organization or ministry, and so anyone who runs a ministry needs to personally make sure that data is being handled in the best possible way. I had a meeting with the data team at 11:30. I had a lunch with our video and social media team, a working lunch at noon. And then got back. Some of the work I did in the interim here between these meetings at my desk had to do with approving updates to the website, had to do with the Parliamentary Network for Critical Issues, our international outreach led by Marie Smith, newsletter preparation, our Next Priest for Life newsletter that goes out to so many of you, media interviews, planning and approving and requesting those of our various friends in the media, individual communications with pro-life leaders about different things that they were asking about, invitations to our donors to become monthly pledgers, that always helps, the Council for National Policy, getting ready for that meeting, approving appeal letters that are going out, preparing for a small group meeting of national leaders that turned to me to organize a little strategy session, and signing on to a letter from a coalition of pro-life leaders to Congress asking for more action on behalf of the unborn. So in the midst of all this, then I had another meeting with our studio team, lots of taping going on in preparation for taping. Had that meeting at 2 o'clock. At 2:45, I did taped a program for our Praying for America series. At 3:30, I had a call with some of our staff and administration with our media firm that helps us out more recently in different ways. That was at 3:30. Finished that call at 4:15 and then got picked up to go to the airport. And on my way to the airport, had a call with our vice chairman together with our newest priest who is helping us out, Father David Begany, a new pastoral associate of Priests for Life. Got to the airport and checked in, had a phone call with Brian Kemper, our director of street activism and youth outreach. Then, while getting some quick dinner at the airport, also had a call with our executive manager. He got on the plane, flew to New York, and landed there in Westchester, and that was pretty late by that time, and then went to bed. Friday, the 12th of May, I was visiting with my mom and also working from home up there in Westchester County. So I checked in with the staff in the morning, taped a few videos remotely, and then had to deal with the following kinds of topics via email and phone. Approving some procedure revisions for the staff, approving next steps on our texting service where you'll be able to get texts from us on breaking pro-life news, trip planning for upcoming invitations, planning for our new priest associate that I just mentioned, giving staff some instructions about the organizing of videos, planning for the board meeting of the National Pro-Life Religious Council, of which I serve as president, approving some email appeals that are going out, doing some planning for the National Day of Remembrance, of which I am a founder, abortion and scripture course that is going to be done in conjunction with a major Catholic group. I did some more preparation on that. And a document on Priests for Life projects, updated that. I did this work in the morning and also helped clean up and rearrange things out on the deck in the back of our home there, where my mom lives and where I grew up. Did some visiting with her, did some other phone calls with our technology department and our administration. For lunch, went down to the local fish store and got some of our favorite things and had lunch with my mom. And 1 o'clock call with our social media director and executive director, and then a 2 o'clock call with our finance director. Sat outside on the deck. It was a nice weather day, so sat outside on the deck with my mom and visited for a while. 4 o'clock, I had a call with some of our video and website team, giving them some instructions. 5 o'clock, went to pick up some dinner for me and my mom and my brother, and while doing that, had a call with our Chief Technology Officer, Mark, and he also helps with various administrative things. Came back home, had dinner, and then had done some quiet work in the evening on my laptop before going to bed. Saturday, May 13th, visiting with my mom during the day. I did a lot of scripture reflections taping too for the days that I would be traveling and not able to do it live or in the studio. And so I taped several scripture reflections there at home. Had to organize a couple of talks and interviews that President Trump gave. We helped disseminate those and, of course, watch them ourselves. And also worked on some election-related plans on my own and together with our staff. So it was a good day of doing all that, interspersed with visiting there at home and helping out with things around the house. Also prepared the monthly statement that goes out to our monthly donors. Sunday the 14th was Mother's Day, and so I was there at home with my mom before we had breakfast. I did some more tapings of some scripture reflections for the coming days when I would be traveling. Then visited with her, stopped off at my home parish church, did some visiting down at one of my favorite places, the boardwalk there at Rye Playland, and also did some direct social media work, giving Mother's Day greetings on various platforms, and also texted a number of mothers on my iPhone contact list, wishing them a happy Mother's Day as well. Monday the 15th was the day that I flew out of New York. I got up early and did some email work. Well, actually, let's see, both on Sunday and Monday, some of the things I had to deal with via email were preparing for the taping of one of our programs covering the March for Life Canada, which had taken place a few days before, finalizing a new party comparison piece that we're going to use in the 2023 and 24 elections. Communications with CareNet, a major pregnancy center network, in terms of their statement of faith and how it relates to Catholics. I'm showing them and showing Catholics that want to be volunteers in their centers that it is indeed okay to sign that statement of faith. It doesn't contradict Catholic faith. Updated the Rachel's Vineyard end-of-year report. I'm pastoral director of that worldwide ministry for healing after abortion. Did some work on the preparation and announcement of our promotion of a prenatal app showing extensive and detailed and stunning footage of the unborn child, and also making more election plans, making plans for meetings with our media firm, and also approving some email appeals to go out. So all of these things while getting to the airport on Monday, May 15th, having a 10 a.m. call with our Senior Vice President, Jerry Horn, while I was waiting to board my plane. Boarded the plane, flew back to Orlando, working on all these various email tasks while flying back. Getting back to let's see, where did I go? Not to Orlando, I misspoke. I went to D.C., flying to Washington, D.C. And then getting there to Washington, D.C., let's see, I have we go on these trips, we have these yellow pages of the trip plan that detail exactly hour by hour what I have to do. I got there to Washington, D.C., and of course went to our Washington, D.C. office, had lunch there with our Washington, D.C. staff person, and then worked there at that office for several hours in the afternoon, doing things like making plans for website improvements, email messaging that has to go out, organizing of upcoming events, and so forth. So I was there at our Washington office until the late afternoon, when I went over to the hotel where we were hosting the hospitality gathering for National Pro-Life Leaders. So what we do, you've heard me talk about these quarterly meetings that we organize for the pro-life leaders. The night before the meeting, we have a reception. And so Monday night, the 15th, I spent with all these, about 30 or 40 leaders coming to the reception, and we had a good time of conversation. It's great. I really enjoy introducing national leaders to one another who haven't met before. Of course, they've heard of or know of each other, but haven't been face to face, and encouraging them to various ideas that I might have about how they can collaborate. So all of that took place there on Monday night, the 15th. On Tuesday morning, the 16th, early breakfast with some of my administrative team, and then went over to the Museum of the Bible, where we had our all-day meeting of the National Pro-Life Leaders. We helped to, of course, I put together the agenda for that meeting, and we had about 50 leaders coming together all day. We heard updates from the major pollsters, Jim McLaughlin and Scott Rasmussen. You've heard of McLaughlin polls and Rasmussen polls. And we had these experts themselves address our leaders live and take some questions. Many other great speakers as well, covering the litigation in the courts, covering the state legislative updates and federal legislation and lots of other things besides. When that meeting was over, I went back briefly to the hotel and then got picked up to go to an evening event out in Tysons Corner, Virginia. And this was with Bishop E.W. Jackson, who heads up a tremendous patriot organization that was giving awards to a friend of mine, former Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, and also to Dr. Alveda King, who of course is part of our Priests for Life team. I actually accepted the award on her behalf because she had to be elsewhere. But that was a great evening, again, intersecting and interacting with a lot of great patriots and leaders in the pro-life and conservative arena. So that was the night of the 16th of May. Wednesday morning, the 17th, still there in Washington. Let's see. Now, let me not mishear any oath. On the 16th, in between all those things I just told you, I was working on the monthly statement, updating the text of the monthly statement that we send out to our monthly supporters, and also revising some of the online liturgical resources that we offer for clergy. All right. Wednesday the 17th was a day of continued meetings with pro-life leaders. So I got up early, had a breakfast meeting, and then got ready to go back over to our Washington, D.C. office. A little bit of work on emails in regard to some trip planning, preparing invitations for clergy to join me on some upcoming speaking engagements, and also planning some visits of our videographer. But then went to our Washington, D.C. office and had two meetings back to back. In the morning, it was a small group of leaders, well, actually maybe about 10 leaders. Some of them with me in person, others on Zoom, and Janet Morano was with me, our executive director. And it was a strategy meeting that they requested, and we were talking about advancing pro-life progress in the states and on the federal level. When that meeting concluded at noon, we brought in some lunch and some of the board members of the National Pro-Life Religious Council, of which I'm president, an interdenominational group, arrived, and we had a meeting which lasted until about 3:30 in the afternoon. And we were talking, of course, at the National Pro-Life Religious Council about some of the theological, pastoral, church-related aspects interdenominationally of the battle against abortion in the United States. It was a very, very good meeting. And then after that, I got into an Uber, and our executive director and I went over to Tyson's Corner, Virginia, and we settled in there to the meeting of the Council for National Policy. I had a dinner meeting that night, interacted with a lot of the leaders who were arriving for a 2-day meeting in the pro-life and pro-family movements. That meeting, of course, got underway in full swing the next morning. I interacted with a lot of the individual leaders who were coming and wanted to speak with me, or I with them. Meanwhile, also had a lot of work to do at my desk, some trip plans being made for our associate and board member, Dr. Alveda King, whom you know. And I also worked with some promotion of the pilgrimage that Janet Marana and Father David Begany and Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers will be leading to the Shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Did some promotional work about that. Approving of some email appeals. Special social media task that I gave to our staff. Sending in a column, my latest column, to lifenews.com. Following up on the meeting of the National Pro-Life Religious Council. Sent some information, wording for bulletin inserts for the state of Ohio as they battle against the effort of the pro-abortion people to put an amendment in their constitution. Prepared a new article for our Priests for Life newsletter, working on plans for upcoming trips, working on plans for meeting of our media firm, coordinating a prayer effort for the decision that's being argued in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. It had just been argued the previous day, and praying for a good outcome on that. That has to do with the legality of chemical abortions. Voter registration among our donors. We did some analysis of that, encouraging those that are not registered to get registered. Preparing and approving a special web page in regard to my friend and colleague Abby Johnson. She interviewed me for her newest film called Unthinkable because of the work I've done both with her and other former abortion clinic workers. And some follow-up to the Heartbeat International Conference at which I had spoken some weeks before. All of this taking place in the midst of a large meeting with national pro-life, pro-family, conservative business leaders, political leaders, faith leaders. And we do this a few times a year. And I attended the various presentations, interacted with these individuals one-on-one. It was just a fabulous, all afternoon, all evening, special dinner at night of the whole group, hundreds of leaders. And that's always very invigorating and inspiring. All that same stuff continued the next day, Friday the 19th of May, with these meetings, starting off with an early 7:30 breakfast meeting at which I gave a little presentation of some of the projects of Priests for Life, and then we continued. There was a special pro-life panel around midday, and then continued into the afternoon with a special pro-life workshop with various other leaders there, along with myself, and strategizing together, especially as to how we win for pro-life on these different ballot initiatives taking place in these various states. Meanwhile, in the realm of my email and on my computer, did some communication with some of our political advisors about drop boxes in churches. This is something that churches can do where it's legal, of course, and we're encouraging that. There'll be a lot more we'll have to say about that. Articles for the newsletter, approving some material for that, approving some emails going out, approving the posting of our regular What Are We Doing section of our website, talking about latest projects and activities of the Priests for Life team, and again some promo of the October pilgrimage that Janet is leading. That'll be a very exciting experience. That was and then there was a special dinner again at night. All these leaders together and all these meetings that we're having with them. Very, very informative and inspiring. And then finally, Saturday, May 20th is when I got up early and hopped on a plane from Washington, this time to go back to Orlando. Did some work on the plane, communicating on my laptop with some new members of our leadership forum. The Rome March for Life was taking place that day. I had some communication about that. Plans for the next conference I'll be going to of the National Religious Broadcasters, and plans for upcoming tapings of our Radio Maria program. Doing all this while working on the plane and in the car taking me back to the office. Once I got back to the office, I worked the rest of the afternoon. I stayed at the Orlando airport. I did this work on the plane, but then also I sat at the airport, had some lunch at the airport, and then the car took me not to my office, but to another hotel, because I settled into the hotel, did a couple of hours work there on these matters I just mentioned, and then attended another pro-life gala event. This time it was for the Florida Family Policy Council, and run by John Stemberger. Governor DeSantis was there, so I was at a VIP reception where he was taking photos with those in the VIP room, and then we went down to the main banquet hall and had it must have been about 800 supporters, again, pro-life and pro-family, and I was interacting with all of them and just meeting so many people that I have known over the years in pro-life work here in Florida, and that others that I was just getting to know. A great evening of celebration and of celebrating our accomplishments, including the reversal of Roe v. Wade, and recommitting ourselves, all of us, to advancing the protection of the unborn well into the future. So that's what I did, Thursday, May 11th through Saturday, May 20th. I want to thank you for enabling me to do this. Your support, your enthusiastic participation in our projects, it all matters. It matters a lot to me and to our whole team, and I guarantee you we are on the path of victory. We will make sure that we're using every moment, every ounce of energy, every dollar of support for the one goal, restoring protection to our youngest brothers and sisters. Thanks for following these updates. We'll talk to you soon.